Ethan was just a waiter, nothing more, nothing less. He worked at a busy diner on a great alien space station. Every day, he carried trays heavier than his own body weight. He smiled at rude customers, bowed before rich alien nobles, and kept silent when insults were thrown at him. The diner was loud, filled with voices from a dozen different species. Some spoke in growls, others in clicks, some in deep rumbling tones that shook the walls. Ethan had learned to understand none of it. He only followed orders, cleaned tables, and moved quickly so no one would complain. He thought his life would always be this way, simple and quiet, until one moment changed everything. That day started like any other. His manager, a tall alien with skin like rusted iron, barked commands from the counter. "Move faster. Human, you are too slow." Ethan bit his tongue and hurried, carrying plates stacked high. His hands shook, but he never let a dish fall. He needed the job. Without it, he had nothing. The door to the diner opened, and an elderly alien entered. Her back was bent, her steps weak. She carried a small pouch, but her arms trembled. In the crowd of loud and rushing beings, she seemed so fragile. No one gave her space. No one even noticed her, except Ethan. As she walked, her pouch slipped. Strange glowing stones spilled across the floor. The crowd laughed. Some stepped on them, crushing the gems into dust. The old alien bent down, trying to gather them, but her arms failed her. Ethan felt a pull inside his chest. He knew he should keep serving. He knew his manager was watching, but he could not look away. He placed the heavy tray on a counter and hurried to the floor, kneeling beside her. He whispered softly, "Let me help." She looked at him with tired, watery eyes, not believing at first that anyone would stop. Ethan picked up the glowing stones carefully, handing them back one by one. His hands shook, not from the weight, but from the eyes staring at him. The diner grew quiet for a moment. Then his manager's voice cut through the silence like a blade. "Human," the alien roared. "You stop working? You waste time for weak old flesh. Get out." Ethan froze. "I was only helping," he tried to explain. His voice was calm, but his heart pounded. "Helping?" The manager sneered. The iron-skinned alien marched forward, grabbed Ethan by the arm, and pushed him toward the door. The plates crashed behind him, food spilling on the floor. "You are fired, worthless human. This is not a place for your pity." The customers laughed. Some even cheered. Ethan stood outside the diner with nothing but his worn uniform and the echo of their laughter. His face burned with shame. He had lost the only job that kept him alive, all because he had shown kindness. The elderly alien came slowly after him. Clutching her pouch of stones, she placed a trembling hand on his shoulder. Her voice was soft, but carried a strange strength. "Kindness is never wasted, human," she said. Her words sank deep into his heart. But before he could ask more, she vanished into the crowd. Ethan stood alone in the cold corridor of the station. Lights flickered overhead. Announcements echoed in alien tongues. He felt smaller than ever, a human with no money, no job, and no future. But deep in the shadows, unseen eyes were watching him. The act of helping the old alien had not gone unnoticed. What Ethan did not know was that his choice had set something in motion, something far greater than losing a job. For this was not the end, it was only the beginning. Ethan walked aimlessly through the glowing corridors of the great station. The lights above flickered in shades of blue and green. Ships roared outside the windows as they left for distant worlds, and the smell of metal and burning fuel filled the air. He had no home, no credits, and no job. The diner uniform still clung to him like a reminder of failure. His stomach growled, his legs ached, and his heart carried the weight of shame. Every corner of the station seemed to remind him that he was only human. He was surrounded by taller, stronger, richer beings. Some had scales, some had wings, some floated above the ground with strange energy. Ethan felt smaller than dust among them. In their eyes, a human was weak, expendable, and always replaceable. Yet, something from the diner still echoed in his mind. The old alien's words, "Kindness is never wasted." He replayed them over and over, but he could not understand. What could kindness give him now, when his life was falling apart? As he turned into a darker passage, he noticed movement in the shadows. His heart skipped. A group of figures stepped into the light. Their skin was pale gray, their eyes narrow and glowing. They wore black armor with silver stripes, and their movements were too precise. These were not ordinary citizens, they were hunters. One of them spoke in a sharp tongue, pointing directly at Ethan. He didn't understand the words, but the tone was enough. They were after him. Ethan tried to back away. "I don't have anything," he whispered to himself. But suddenly, he remembered the pouch of glowing stones. The old alien had clutched it. Yet when she left, Ethan felt something slip into his pocket. His fingers reached in, and there it was, not stones, but a small metallic token, no larger than his palm. The token pulsed faintly, as if it were alive. The armored aliens hissed when they saw it. Their leader barked an order, and they rushed forward. Ethan ran. His breath came in sharp bursts as his feet pounded the metallic floor. The hunter's boots thundered behind him. Every turn he made, they followed. Every corridor, every stair, they closed in. He darted into an abandoned docking bay. The lights were broken, and the smell of rust and oil filled the air. He pressed his back against the wall, clutching the token tight. "What do you want from me?" he gasped. His voice echoed through the emptiness. The hunters answered with weapons, thin blades of glowing energy crackling in their hands. They advanced slowly, surrounding him like wolves. Ethan's hands shook. His heart raced. He had nowhere to run. And then, the token moved. A sudden warmth spread through his fingers. It glowed brighter, filling the bay with silver light. The hunters froze, their eyes wide. They whispered in fear. One word repeated again and again in their alien tongue. The key. The light grew stronger, wrapping Ethan in a shield of shimmering energy. When the hunters swung their blades, the weapons bounced back as if hitting solid stone. Sparks filled the air. Their leader screamed in anger, but none of them dared step closer. Finally, they retreated, their boots pounding away into the corridors. The leader gave Ethan one last look, filled with hate and fear. Then they vanished into the shadows, leaving him alone. Ethan collapsed to his knees, the token still glowing in his hand. His breath came heavy, his mind racing. What was this thing? Why did they call it the key? Before he could think more, a familiar voice spoke from behind him. "It chose you." Ethan spun around. The elderly alien from the diner stood there, but she no longer looked weak. Her back was straight. Her eyes glowed like twin suns. The pouch she carried shimmered with hidden energy. She walked toward him with a grace that felt ancient and powerful. "You helped me when no one else would," she said. "And now, the key has helped you. It does not belong to the strong, nor to the rich. It belongs to the one who shows kindness." Ethan stared at her. "What is this token? Why are they hunting me?" She looked at him with a calm smile. "Because you are human, and because destiny has chosen you. This key is older than their empire, older than the station itself. It has been waiting for the right hands, and now it has found them." Ethan's heart pounded. He wanted to believe her, but fear gnawed at his thoughts. He was just a waiter, a nobody. How could something so powerful choose him? The alien woman leaned closer. "Your life is no longer your own. Human, you stand at the edge of a storm, and soon, the galaxy will know your name." Her words chilled him. Around them, the docking bay lights flickered back to life. The token pulsed again in his hand, stronger, brighter. It was as if it agreed. Ethan swallowed hard. In one day, he had lost everything. But in that same day, something greater had begun. And somewhere far above, beyond the glass of the station, massive warships drifted into orbit, silent and watchful, searching for the very key that now rested in the hands of a human waiter. Ethan did not sleep that night. He sat in a small corner of the station, the token resting in his palm. It pulsed softly like a beating heart, every glow reminding him of what had happened. He was no longer just a fired waiter. He was something more, though he did not understand what. The old alien, whose name he still did not know, had vanished after speaking those strange words. One moment she was beside him, her eyes burning like fire. The next she slipped into the shadows, leaving him alone. He wondered if she had ever been real at all, or if she was only part of the key's strange power. But the fear was real. The hunters had been real, and Ethan knew they would return. He could almost hear their heavy boots in his memory. He clutched the key tighter, hoping its light would shield him again. By morning, the station had changed. Rumors spread fast in places like this. He overheard whispers as he walked past alien crowds. "The key has awakened," one voice said. "A human holds it," said another. Every glance felt sharp. Every shadow felt like an enemy's eyes. Ethan pulled his jacket tighter, wishing he could vanish. But he could not hide for long. The hunters came again, not in secret this time. They marched openly through the market district, their black armor shining under the station lights. Their weapons were drawn, and their eyes burned with the same hunger. The crowd scattered in fear, yet Ethan could not run. They were already closing in. He ducked into a narrow alley, the smell of oil and burning wires filling the air. His heart raced as footsteps echoed closer. He had to find a way out. His mind screamed for help, but no one would come. Humans were rare here, and no alien would risk their life for one. The hunters entered the alley, their leader raising a hand. "Give us the key," he hissed. His words were broken but clear. "Human is not worthy." Ethan's breath caught. His fingers gripped the key, but it did not glow this time. It stayed cold, silent, as if testing him. He felt his chest tighten. Was the power gone? Had it abandoned him? The hunters advanced, weapons glowing. Ethan backed against a wall. His legs shook, sweat dripped down his face. He whispered, "Please, please work." But nothing happened. The leader smirked, raising his blade. And then, something inside Ethan shifted. He remembered the diner, the laughter when he was fired, the shame, the helplessness. He remembered the old alien's words. Kindness is never wasted. Maybe the key wanted more than fear. Maybe it wanted courage. With trembling hands, Ethan lifted the token high. He did not beg this time. He shouted, his voice breaking, "If you want it, then fight me for it." The key blazed to life. A brilliant shield of silver light burst around him. The hunters staggered back, their weapons striking uselessly against the barrier. Sparks flew. The air shook. Ethan felt the energy flowing through his body, not as protection, but as strength. He stepped forward, and the hunters stepped back. The leader growled, swinging his blade again. But the key answered with a flash of energy that knocked him to the ground. The crowd that had gathered gasped, watching as a human, a simple waiter, stood against armed soldiers. The hunters retreated once more, but this time their fear was mixed with rage. "The prophecy is real," one of them spat. "The human awakens the key." Their leader snarled, pointing a finger at Ethan. "This is not over. Human, the Empire will come." And then they disappeared into the shadows, leaving only silence. Ethan dropped to his knees, gasping. The key dimmed again, but he no longer felt abandoned. He realized it had tested him. It had waited for him to stop begging and start standing. It wanted him to act, not to hide. As he caught his breath, a voice echoed from behind, calm but filled with power. "You passed the first trial." Ethan turned sharply. The old alien stood there again, her form glowing faintly in the dim alley. This time she looked even younger, her back straighter, her voice stronger. "The key responds to courage, not fear. You showed it your heart, and now it accepts you." Ethan stared, still trembling. "Who are you? Why me?" She smiled, though sadness lingered in her eyes. "I am a guardian, bound to the key for centuries. My duty was to wait until the right soul touched it. Not strength, not wealth, not power, but kindness. You gave that when no one else did. That is why it chose you." Ethan shook his head. "I'm just a waiter. I'm nobody." "Not anymore," she said softly. "From this moment, you carry more than your own life. You carry the weight of every human, every forgotten kindness, and every hope for freedom. The Empire will come, and you must be ready." Ethan's hands trembled as he looked down at the token. Its glow reflected in his eyes. He felt fear, yes, but also something new, something stronger, resolve. The station lights flickered, alarms echoed in the distance. Far above, massive shadows drifted closer, warships of the Empire, drawn by the key's awakening. The storm had begun, and Ethan stood at its center. The alarms kept ringing across the space station, red lights flashed above the corridors, and voices in a dozen alien tongues shouted warnings. Ethan pressed his back to the cold metal wall, holding the key close to his chest. His breath came fast, his mind trying to understand what was happening. The old alien guardian stood beside him, her form calm despite the chaos. Her glowing eyes followed the shadows of warships moving outside the station windows. "They have come," she whispered. "The Empire has felt the key awaken. They will not stop until it is theirs." Ethan swallowed hard. Why? Why is this thing so important? He lifted the token, watching its soft silver light pulse against his skin. The Guardian's gaze softened, because it is not just a token. It is a key of command, an artifact older than this empire, older than this station. It was forged when humans and my kind once fought side by side. It chooses only those who understand sacrifice. It chooses only those who act with kindness. Her words struck deep. Ethan shook his head. "But I'm just a waiter. I have no army, no weapons. I don't even know what to do with this. Why would it choose me?" She placed a hand gently on his shoulder. "Because strength without compassion is nothing. The Empire has strength, but they lost compassion long ago. That is why they fear humans. That is why they fear you." Outside, the station trembled as the Empire ships docked. Soldiers in black armor marched in formation, their banners glowing with crimson light. The crowd scattered, markets emptied, doors sealed. Ethan could hear the heavy boots echoing through the halls, searching, hunting. The Guardian motioned for him to follow. Together they slipped into the maintenance shafts, crawling through narrow tunnels filled with steam and humming wires. Ethan's hands shook as he crawled, the key glowing faintly to light their path. Finally, they reached a hidden chamber, old and forgotten. Its walls were carved with strange markings, and at the center stood a great circular door. Ethan froze, his breath catching. What is this place? The Guardian's eyes shone brighter. This is the vault of memory. The key does not only protect, it unlocks. Place it on the door. Ethan hesitated, his heart racing. Slowly, he pressed the token into the circular slot. The room trembled, and the carvings lit up with streams of silver light. The door groaned open, revealing a vast chamber beyond. Inside were glowing statues, holograms of ancient battles, humans fighting alongside alien warriors, shields raised, blades drawn. Their faces were proud, their eyes determined. Ethan's chest tightened as he realized what he was seeing, humanity's forgotten history. The Guardian spoke, her voice echoing through the chamber. "Long ago, when darkness threatened the stars, humans stood with us. They gave everything, not for conquest, but for life. Their kindness, their courage, and their will to protect shaped the galaxy. This key was forged to honor them, and now, it awakens once more." Ethan stepped forward, staring at the holograms. His own reflection shimmered in the light. For the first time, he saw himself not as a waiter, but as part of something greater. But his moment of wonder was broken by the sound of heavy footsteps. The soldiers had found them. The chamber doors burst open, and black-armored hunters stormed in, weapons glowing red. The Guardian raised her hand, energy crackling around her. "Stand tall, Ethan. The key will answer if your heart is ready." Ethan gripped the token tightly. His legs trembled, but he planted his feet. The soldiers advanced, their leader shouting, "Surrender the key. Human, it belongs to the Empire." Ethan shook his head. His voice was firm, even as fear clawed at him. "It doesn't belong to you. It never did." The key blazed, flooding the chamber with light. The holograms of ancient humans turned their heads as if alive, their glowing eyes fixed on Ethan. His breath caught. He felt their courage flowing into him. The shield expanded around him and the Guardian, deflecting the soldiers' attacks. The hunters fired again and again, but the light swallowed their energy. The chamber shook, dust falling from the ceiling. The soldiers stumbled back in fear. The leader cursed, retreating into the shadows. "This is only the beginning. Human, the Empire does not forget." Silence fell again. Ethan's body trembled, his chest heavy. The key dimmed but remained warm in his palm. The Guardian stepped closer, her eyes filled with pride. "You are beginning to understand. It is not the key that makes you powerful, Ethan. It is you that gives power to the key." Ethan swallowed. Staring at the token, he no longer felt like a fired waiter lost in shame. He felt like a man standing on the edge of something vast, something terrifying, and something important. Above the station, the Empire's fleet grew larger, their warships blotting out the stars. The storm was coming closer, and Ethan knew the trials ahead would test more than courage. They would test his very soul. The space station shook as the Empire tightened its grip. Warships loomed outside like black shadows, their crimson lights burning against the stars. The alarms wailed across the corridors, warning everyone to hide or obey. The markets were silent, the streets empty, and fear crawled in. Every corner. Ethan stood in the hidden chamber, the key still glowing faintly in his hand. He could feel the weight of what was coming. The Guardian placed her hand on the wall, listening to the distant tremors of boots and weapons. "They will not stop," she said softly. "The Empire has hunted the key for centuries. Now that it has chosen you, they will burn the station if they must." Ethan's throat felt dry. His voice shook. "I can't fight them. I don't know how. I'm not a soldier. I'm just a man who carried trays." The Guardian's gaze was steady. "You think that makes you weak, but it makes you stronger than them. They fight for greed and control. You fight because you care. That is why the key listens to you." Before Ethan could answer, the chamber doors burst open. Soldiers in black armor stormed inside, their weapons raised. Red light from their blades reflected against the silver glow of the chamber. The leader stepped forward, his voice echoing, "Surrender the key. Human, your defiance only delays the inevitable." Ethan's legs trembled. He looked at the Guardian, searching for strength. She nodded once, calm and unshaken. "Stand, Ethan. The key will not fail you." He raised the token, his heart pounding. At first, it flickered weakly. Then he remembered the faces in the holograms, the humans of the past who had fought not for power but for life. He clenched his teeth, forcing his voice steady. "If you want it, then you'll have to take it from me." The key exploded with light. A shield burst outward, throwing the soldiers back. Their weapons struck the barrier but sparked uselessly. Ethan felt energy surge through him, filling his chest. His fear burned away, replaced by something else, resolve. The soldiers regrouped, advancing again. Ethan stepped forward this time. The shield moved with him, pushing them back. His voice echoed across the chamber. "This doesn't belong to you." It never did. One soldier lunged, but the key answered with a wave of force that sent him crashing into the wall. Another fired, but the energy was swallowed by the shield. The leader growled in fury. "You are nothing but a human waiter. You cannot stand against the Empire." But Ethan did not retreat. He raised the key higher, and the holograms of ancient humans glowed brighter. They looked almost alive, their eyes blazing. Their voices whispered in his mind, not in words, but in courage. The battle raged in the chamber. Soldiers pressed harder, but the shield held strong. The crowd outside the chamber began to gather. Rebels, outcasts, and traitors who had suffered under the Empire peeked through the broken doors. Their eyes widened as they saw a human standing against the Empire's might. The Guardian's voice rang out. "Do you see, Ethan? You are not alone. You carry more than yourself. You carry hope." Ethan's chest tightened. He realized the truth. The key was not only protecting him, it was showing others that resistance was possible, that one act of defiance could ignite something greater. The soldiers faltered. The leader snarled and raised his blade high, striking with all his strength. The key flashed brighter than ever, blasting him backward. His armor cracked, his voice broken with rage. "This is not the end. Human, the Empire will crush you. The fleet will burn this station to dust." He retreated with the remaining soldiers, their boots echoing into the distance. The chamber grew silent. Ethan dropped to his knees, breathing hard. Sweat ran down his face, his hands trembled, but the key was warm, steady, alive. The Guardian placed a hand on his shoulder. "You stood. You chose not to hide. That is the first step of a leader." Ethan shook his head. "I'm not a leader. I don't know how to be one." "You will learn," she said simply. "The key does not only protect, it guides, and it has already begun to show you the path." The crowd outside stepped forward, aliens of different kinds, some scarred, some broken, all beaten by the Empire. They looked at Ethan with awe. Their whispers spread. "The human fights the Empire. The key has awakened." For the first time, Ethan saw something in their eyes that had been missing before, not fear, but hope. His chest rose and fell. His mind raced. He was still just a man who had been fired from a diner, but now, standing in the chamber of ancient heroes, holding the key that pulsed with living light. He understood. His battle had only begun. Above, the Empire's warships moved closer, their cannons charging. The station trembled under their presence. The storm was no longer far away. It was here, and Ethan stood at the heart of it. The station shook as if the very stars trembled. The Empire's warships pressed closer, their massive cannons glowing with red energy. The people of the station cowered in silence, waiting for doom. Yet deep inside the ancient chamber, a different fire was beginning to burn. A human had stood against the Empire, and the story spread faster than light. Ethan sat with his back against the wall, the key resting in his palm. His body ached from the clash, his arms heavy, but the warmth of the token steadied him. The Guardian stood nearby, her glowing eyes watching the corridor where frightened aliens now gathered. They whispered his name, though most had never spoken to a human before. The Guardian spoke softly. "They look to you now, Ethan, not me, not the key. They saw you stand, and they believe they can stand too." Ethan shook his head, his voice unsteady. "I don't know how to lead them. I've never led anyone. I only served tables, carried food, stayed quiet." She knelt beside him, her hand resting lightly on his shoulder. A leader is not born from pride or power. A leader rises when he chooses to protect others even when he feels small. That is what you did, and that is what they saw. Outside the chamber, the Empire soldiers regrouped. Their leader, scarred from the last battle, barked orders. More troops poured into the station. Armored beasts and war machines rolled through the markets. The sound of metal claws scraping against the floor sent shivers down every spine. The Empire was ready to crush all hope before it could spread. Ethan rose slowly, his legs shaking. He stepped toward the crowd. Dozens of eyes locked on him. Some alien children hid behind their mothers. Some traitors clutched broken tools like weapons. All of them were waiting. He swallowed hard, then lifted the key high. Its glow spread across the chamber, silver light chasing away the shadows. His voice, though soft at first, carried through the silence. "I'm not a soldier. I'm not a king. I was only a waiter. But today I saw something. I saw fear, and I saw courage, and I know this. If we bow now, the Empire will take everything. But if we stand, even with nothing, we will have hope." The crowd murmured, their fears shifting to something else, determination. The Guardian's lips curved into the faintest smile. The light of the key grew brighter, as if answering the moment. The first clash came fast. The Empire soldiers stormed the corridor with their glowing weapons. Their leader roared, "No human can defy us." But the crowd did not run this time. Aliens who had once hidden stepped forward, holding pipes, stones, even their bare fists. Ethan raised the key, and the silver shield formed again, protecting them as the battle began. Blades struck, energy bolts fired, sparks filled the air. The people fought with desperation. Their movements were clumsy, but their hearts were fierce. For every soldier that fell back, more civilians joined the fight. The station's broken ones had found something greater than fear. Ethan moved through the chaos, the key guiding his steps. It sent waves of energy that pushed back armored troops. It shielded mothers and children from blasts. His body shook with exhaustion, but every time he thought he could not go on, the whispers of ancient heroes filled his mind. "Stand, human, stand." The battle raged across the markets. Lights shattered, stalls burned. The crimson banners of the Empire fell, trampled under the feet of rebels. For the first time, the soldiers hesitated, glancing nervously at one another. Their leader snarled in rage, "You are nothing but slaves and beggars. You cannot win." Ethan faced him directly, his voice cut through the noise. "Maybe I am nothing, but I am human, and I will never bow to you." The key blazed like a star. The shield expanded, knocking the leader to his knees. The crowd roared, hope igniting like fire. The soldiers retreated again, their lines broken. The leader dragged himself up, his armor cracked, his eyes burning with hate. "This is not victory, human. This is rebellion. And the Empire crushes rebellion." He fled with his remaining troops, leaving behind silence. Ethan's chest heaved, sweat dripping from his brow. He lowered the key, its light dimming once more. Around him, the crowd erupted into cheers. Some cried, some laughed, some simply stood in stunned silence. For the first time in years, they felt free, even if only for a moment. The Guardian stepped forward, her gaze proud. Do you see? Ethan, you are more than a man who served food. You have given them back their will to fight. That is what the key was waiting for. Ethan looked at the faces around him, tired but shining with courage. His heart swelled with something he had never felt before. He was no longer only surviving. He was leading, and yet, he knew this was far from over. Above, the Empire's fleet began to move, cannons aligned, targeting the station itself. The storm was ready to fall. The final test awaited him. Ethan tightened his grip on the key, his eyes set on the stars. The rising hero was not done yet. The Empire fleet filled the skies above the station. Their warships floated like mountains of metal, their crimson cannons glowing brighter with each passing second. The station groaned under the weight of fear. Thousands of lives hung in silence, waiting for the Empire's fire to fall. Inside the battered markets, Ethan stood with the key in his hand. His body ached from battle, his clothes torn, but his spirit burned stronger than ever. Around him stood the rebels, civilians, mothers, children, all looking to him as if he were their shield. He never wanted this, never asked for it. But destiny had pushed him forward. The Guardian stepped closer, her voice calm even in the storm. This is the final trial. Ethan, the Empire will not stop until you face them directly. The key has shown you kindness, courage, and hope. Now it must show them mercy. Ethan frowned. Mercy? They came here to destroy. They call us nothing. His voice cracked under the weight of his anger. The Guardian's glowing eyes softened. That is why you must be different. The key chooses those who rise above hate. Anyone can fight with rage, but only the worthy fight with compassion. The ground shook. The Empire General himself had landed. His armor was black as ash, his crimson cloak dragging across the broken tiles. His eyes glared at Ethan with pure disdain. So this is the human who dares defy an empire. He spat. His voice echoed with pride and cruelty. A waiter who thinks himself a warrior. The crowd shrank back, fear returning. Ethan tightened his grip on the key. His heart pounded, but he stepped forward. His voice rang out steady. I was a waiter. Yes, I served tables. But today I serve something greater, freedom. The general roared in fury and charged. His blade struck with the force of a storm. Sparks exploded as it met the key's silver light. The clash shook the chamber. The crowd gasped. Ethan staggered under the weight, but did not fall. Again and again, the general attacked, his power monstrous. Yet the key held firm. Each strike lit the air with fire. Each step Ethan took pushed him closer. The whispers of ancient humans filled his ears, reminding him that he was not alone. At last, Ethan lifted the key high. Its light blazed brighter than the cannons above. The shield burst outward, throwing the general across the chamber. His armor cracked, his blade shattered. He lay on the ground, defeated. The rebels cheered, hope erupting like a storm. But Ethan stood still, his chest heaving. The key pulsed in his hand, asking for his choice. He could end the general's life with one more strike. He could destroy his enemy and win. The general snarled, his eyes burning with hate. Do it, human. Prove you are no different from us. Ethan lowered the key, his voice carried across the silence. No, that is the difference. I don't kill for pride. I don't kill for fear. I fight to protect. And that means even you will live. The Guardian's eyes glimmered with pride. The crowd gasped. The choice shocked even the soldiers of the Empire who stood at the edges. For the first time, they saw mercy where they expected blood. The key's light grew gentle, warm. It pulsed as if approving his choice. The ancient holograms of human warriors bowed their heads before fading into silver mist. Their voices whispered one final word. Worthy. Above, the cannons of the Empire warships dimmed. The fleets pulled back slowly. The general's defeat and Ethan's mercy had shaken their will. They could not destroy what they no longer understood. The crowd surged around Ethan, cheering. Some wept, some fell to their knees. For the first time in generations, they felt free. Ethan looked at them, his chest heavy, his mind racing. He was still just a man who had once carried plates, but now he carried something far greater, destiny. The Guardian stepped beside him, her voice soft. The key has chosen well. You are no longer just a human waiter. You are a legend, and the galaxy will remember this day." Ethan stared at the stars beyond the broken windows, his hands still trembling. He knew this was not the end. The Empire would return. The battles ahead would be harder. But now, he no longer walked alone. He carried hope, and that hope was stronger than any empire. He tightened his grip on the key, the silver glow reflected in his eyes. "Let them come," he whispered. "I'm ready." And in that moment, the boy who had once been fired for helping an old alien stood as a hero, a symbol, a legend, proving that even the smallest act of kindness could change the fate of the stars.